Well, exciting times. I think our women's soccer team will hopefully be a high seed in a home game. We're hoping for that. And hockey just comes off a big win. Got to see a little bit of that. And we get to play in the Champions Classic for the 15th straight year. And I think about to up it for another 3. So I look at that as a privilege. But of all the privileges there is in the world, today is a special day, being Veterans Day. And for all the great things I've gotten a chance to do with our veterans over the years, I just, again, want to say thank you to all of them. We got to do a better job. Having a guy on my staff, Doug Wojcik, who is a military guy, I always appreciate the day. Xavier Booker's dad was a Marine, and you just kind of have a feel for those people that have done so much, and we don't give them enough, so somehow, some way, make sure they get their just due. Got 2 games under our belt. I don't know what that did for us. It gave us a chance to look at more lineups, more people. I can't say that the competition, even though I think both teams had some things that'll help us. Niagara really did with 4 men that can shoot the ball and step out on the floor, and I thought we did a poor job the first half and a better job defending it the second half. But there'll be nothing like playing the number 1 team in the country. That, too, is a privilege. So the tournament's a privilege because it's one of the most watched nights of basketball of the whole year. But playing a number 1 team, as I told my players, I've had a chance to do it a few times. I've been it a few times. And that is a privilege. You can go a lot of years in basketball and never play against the number 1 team in the country. So I love the Tournament of Champions Classic. I don't take it for granted. And I'm glad for Michigan State, for our fans, for our alums, for our university, for our players, that we get this opportunity. The test will be great. They have 3 key players. Everybody talks these days about transfers, and rightfully so, I guess. But for them, they got Dickerson inside at 7'2". They've got point guard Harris, I think's been there 5 years for sure, maybe 6. And Dickerson's been around 5 years, as those of us know him here from his days in Ann Arbor. And maybe the biggest key to the whole team is the KJ Adams kid, who is a senior and has just won a ton of games there, does all the dirty work. He's kind of a Draymond Green, he's kind of a Xavier Tillman, he's kind of in between. Doesn't shoot it very well, just makes plays. Kind of a Magic Johnson. He makes some of the best passes of any big man I've seen at 6'7". So going to be a great test for us to see how we do. Jaden has been more impressive in the last 2 games. We need him to be our leader. Jackson, after, a tough year last year, both from injuries and maybe coming back, starting to fit in his own. I think Jeremy's made great progress. But I also think, Colin Carr has improved, and I think Booker is slowly coming. We need a little bit more to Frankie right now, who was really good all summer and hasn't played quite as good, and maybe one of the surprise guys has been Jace Richardson, who usually when you get a recruit, they never end up as good as you think they were. Once in a while you get one that's better than the billing. Not that his billing was low, but he's been good offensively, defensively, scoring the ball, averaging more than Daddy did as a freshman, and playing more minutes than his dad did. So that's been encouraging for us too. Harris is the best. The transfers they got, we all know A.J. Storrs. He scored 20 against us when he was at Wisconsin, but the other 2 transfers, Mayo and Griffin, are prolific shooters, especially Mayo. And so they've added something to their team this year that they didn't have last year, and that was some wing shooting. Questions?
Tom, I'm wondering, you talked about a lot of these early games in particular of the scouting element of it. How much does that benefit you to have a little maybe idea of how to play against Storr and Dickinson, but then the other component, the other guys that you got to scout with the 2 games enough with a team like that?
Well, we also got to scout ourselves and figure out ourselves, but your point is well taken. At least we kind of know some of the things Dickinson does. Storr is a little different since he was a little up and down last year, and he's been to 3 or 4 different places. But, we got film from all those places, and we'll look at it. At least the scouting isn't half as hard as last week's was when there were 13 new guys. But at the same time, the team's a little better. And so, my guys have done a great job. I really, the last 2 practices have been as good as we've had. What does that mean? It means you sleep this much better, but it really has no bearing on the game. You still got to play the game, and who knows how the lights go on, how everybody handles it differently on their team and mine. But I like where we're at right now as far as compared to where we've been the last month and a half. I think we're doing the things we need to do. We practice really well. The camaraderie's been great, and hopefully we'll play as well as we practiced.
Hey, Tom, moment of reflection. When we think about this type of game, that's kind of the lifeblood of the program, even your legacy, and it had me reflecting on names like Mr. March and all those times. But now, lately, with this new landscape, you've been Tom Izzo 2.0. That's just me saying that. Or the Iron Man from Iron Mountain. I like that one. But how do you bring those together now? This past history of knowing these things, and now you're kind of refreshed for this new day in basketball. Can you talk about that, even if you haven't thought about it? What's that like in real time?
Well, refresh means probably did what a lot of people wanted me to do, get off the committees, forget about maybe the big picture of the game, because you realize that you have no control of that anymore. And that's okay. That's okay. It gives me more time to focus on our guys, and that's why we've done more things as a team. And as far as my legacy goes, it's all going to be about winning games. I don't care about anything else. I don't want to put my mark on where the game's going anymore. I realize that's out of my hands. It's out of our hands, and I'm okay with it. I really am. What I want to do is make sure my program, my players, my university do the things we need to do that make everybody feel good and proud here. And right now, I love my team as far as their chemistry, their camaraderie, and everything else. I really do. I love the fact that we've talked to them a little bit. I spent more time with this team than I even have the last couple. And maybe there's a trip to Europe, maybe it's a trip to the UP, which is the other Europe, and maybe it was just the Tiger games, or going to football games together again. Just trying to do more things, and I think that's going to pay some dividends. But my legacy will be in the players I coached and what they did after, and do they come back. Wins and losses are going to be very important, but they won't be the end-all, mean-all. And what I won't do this year is worry about the things I've worried about the last couple years, and I feel damn good about that.
Tom, how the three-point shots really haven't fallen for you guys the first 2 games. How guys like Xavier and Frankie, how do you just keep their confidence going? And I think they're 2 for whatever combined.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know if a coach keeps confidence. Players keep confidence. Coaches, I got to worry about whether they graduate or get this or get that. It's almost like so many things are coaches' fault. Players got to take some onus on it. And I've talked to both Frankie and Book. Frankie was our most consistent scorer, highest percentage all of Europe all summer. Book is actually, he's making progress. It's not at your speed. It's not at my speed. it's not even at his speed, but he is making some progress, and we do got to get more out of them. But until we do, we got other guys that'll step up, and if they don't step up, there'll be other guys that'll be playing more minutes. That's the neat part about what I've tried to do this year. We had a meeting with all the forwards and bigs last week and told them, if some of these teams are going to play small, things might change. Be prepared. You can do one of two things. You can either guard people better, that it's harder to guard smaller guys, or you won't play as much. And I don't know, it's almost refreshing because it's been dealt with up front, and I think some of those guys have taken the challenge, and I think they'll play well. But if you look at all the stats from a lot of these teams, it's always, most of the time, some of the transfers take a little while longer to get acclimated, and Frankie was really good over the summer, but he's struggled a little bit in the first 2 games. And as I watched the scores of all the Big Ten teams that have either taken or guys have left some of those teams to go other places, people have struggled a little bit, and that's all part of getting used to everything. So not panicking over 2 games or 4 games or even 6 games, long year.
Coach, what do you remember about the threat that Hunter Dickinson has posed to your team in the past, and what maybe has changed about his game since you last faced him?
I think he's been pretty consistent. I don't see him shooting as many threes now as I thought he did at Michigan. I'll say that, maybe he'll shoot a bunch of them tomorrow, but I just haven't seen that. He's still a threat down low. He hasn't changed much. He's the same old guy, but he's got more experience now. He's a 5th-year guy that has been through the wars and was injured a little bit early in the year. But I don't think it was anything that kept him out, except maybe gave him a little rest, which is probably good for a big guy. And played 30 minutes the last game. I expect him to play 30 minutes this game.
Tom, you mentioned not every team gets to play the number 1 team at all. You get to do it 2-3 games into the season, and I'm curious, that rapid acceleration from playing a team like Niagara to playing a team like Kansas, what do you get out of that? What do your players get out of that?
Well, they get a lot out of it. It's how they handle it that I don't know. All I can do is tell them from experience, have AT tell them, my assistant, have Thomas Kelly tell them. Those guys have done it themselves, where they've played top teams early on, but it's always an adventure because you don't know how they're going to handle the aura of being there, and it's next to a Final Four. It's a who's who event, and I think we're going to handle it well because we've talked about it. But one thing I don't try to do is jump into somebody's mind. I leave that to other people. Got enough problems of my own, so we're going to find out. But I think it's a big advantage. Because even if they're not, maybe Kansas gets beat by somebody, us or somebody else, and they end up, they're a top 5 team. I mean, I think there's no question, and they deserve to be the 1 team in the country, but they'll remain there, I think, all year with the talent they have, and Bill's a hell of a coach and has done a hell of a job over time. So I think this is a good measuring stick, positively or negatively, that we could have. Would you like a couple more games under your belt? Maybe, but why not figure out where you are now? Because we're telling them where we think they are, and until it happens, you don't know if they're really seeing it that way.
I'm wondering about, you mentioned about the transfer element and aspect of it. First, with it's kind of a 2-parter. First, with Frankie, what are some of the, I guess, I don't want to say drawbacks, but some of the hurdles that mid-major transfers have to make that step up? And secondly, how much do you bank on his experience playing against Mayo in this game? Because he's obviously had a few games against him.
Yeah, well, we talked to him about that. We talked to Saudi about Hunter because he coached him a little bit. Those are all pluses, but once the ball's thrown up, I don't know if they're big advantages. You can just tell our guys. I mean, I've already seen on film what Mayo can do, and I already know Hunter. But I think in general, transfers, a lot of them take some time, you know? It's just because it's a new system, new everything, new atmosphere, new players around them. Sometimes it's the players around them that either make them more successful or less successful. So I said all along that this team is going to take, a month to get rolling. I really believe that. But I think a lot of teams are in the same boat. So, I am not worried about that. I just want to make sure that we're doing the things, like Frankie, I thought, passed up a couple shots in the last game. I don't want him doing that, I don't want Book doing that. Book doesn't pass up any shots. I want him playing a little harder in the other areas. But, no, I think I can't answer the transfer thing. I've had a couple. If we remember, Tyson, wasn't great the first couple of even a month or two, and then got way better second and third year. So I don't know what'll happen as I look at, as I said, a lot of the people that have, if you guys follow that, I think there's been more that have struggled so far in the first 2-3 games that have had succeeded. Well, sometimes when you go cross levels, you get other problems, like why would a guy leave one high major program to go to another? Maybe he's a different kind of kid, maybe there's issues there. I don't know that, but usually guys from a lower program want a chance and deserve a chance, Tyson did, Mayo did, Frankie did. I mean, averaged 20 a game at those places. But I think sometimes when you transfer big to big, I mean, it can be good, I guess, but I think your expectations are higher on what you think you want, and then I also question, why would you do it? If you're successful one place and you're that good. We had an interesting visitor last week. Magic was here, and he talked to our team, and was sitting there, and I think it was Spears after. He goes, "Did you talk to him?" I said, "No, he walked in when I walked in." And I said, "Why?" He says, "Well, all the things you guys talk about, he just went over what Pat Riley did." I said, "Winners are winners, brother. Doesn't matter what you're in, business, football, basketball, winners are winners." And he told the kids the same thing we tell the kids. I like him telling it better than I like telling it, personally. But he got done talking. I was fired up. And if they're not, then they're probably, shouldn't be at this level, because he was great.
13 years ago today, 11/11/11, we were on an aircraft carrier. You got a chance to go back there and then go to the Air Force Base in Germany. What does it say about you, your program, and Michigan State University that you keep getting these chances? And there are other schools, I'm sure Connecticut, Villanova, and teams that have won multiple titles would love to have those opportunities.
The guy I've known the longest here, it's my favorite question. It really is. Because I don't think we appreciate it. I'm not sure our alums appreciate it. I'm not sure Michigan State University appreciate it. It is a privilege. I mean, we all know that Kansas has been, 200 years, whenever they invented the game, and all the guys that were there. We all know about Kentucky and that. We all know that, Carolina is, those are some of the winningest programs, Duke, in the whole country ever. And Michigan State's right there with them for the last 15 years as far as, I think we're 5-8 in the tournament. I think Duke's 8-5, and the other two are 6-7. We're the only team that played on an opponent's court that I know of. We had to play Duke down there as part of it during COVID. So, we've held our own, and this is a night when Michigan State people all over the world will get to watch a game and watch a night of basketball. And you're right, there's a million other programs, not just in the Big Ten, but everywhere else that would die to do this. There's a million other programs, I think, that would like to play in an aircraft carrier. But because we did the things we did, because the path's been set here, because the culture's been here, when they want to do another aircraft carrier, we get the first call and right of refusal. I think they do it because I think they appreciate our program. I think they appreciate what I believe in the military and everything, but I think they appreciate the way our university has reached out and will do things that is a little, some call it gimmicky. If you've never been on an aircraft carrier with 6,000 sailors, there ain't one damn thing that's gimmicky. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty humbling. Maybe we should all do that. I've gotten a chance to go to Kuwait for a week twice, and I got to do just another call now. They want to do a reunion of the first one, which was 25 years ago, and get the same coaches back. And I'm not sure I could take another week with Gary Williams, but if it does, I'll take it. But that is a privilege. That is an advantage of having a program that people respect. That we're going to show up. So I take that as a huge advantage. I take it as a huge privilege. I take it as a huge enjoyment. Those are memory makers like no memory makers. There's a lot of Final Fours. You might not get in all of them, but there aren't many aircraft carrier games. There's not many chances to go to Europe and play. There's not many chances. Pearl Harbor, the 75-year reunion. Who was the first call? It was Michigan State. And we jumped on that in a year where I was already going to the Bahamas, and I think I was going overseas. It was tough travel for us. And that didn't change because I believe all those things make you stronger. I think they put you in a better light. And I think it gives a little humility to your players. In this day and age, they need humility. They need accountability. They need to see what happens on a ship when somebody doesn't do things right. Oh my God, those are awesome opportunities, and I'll take as many as I can get, man. If they can put a damn ship up in the UP in the middle of winter, and I'll plan that damn thing if it's to honor our military and to get those opportunities.
Tom, obviously feel free to disagree, but it feels like...
I disagree.
Okay, all right, got it. Jeremy, it seems like he's got some traits at that position that you've been wanting for a while, I would say. It seems like maybe he's the most, you and him might be sort of the most of like mind in terms of just the edge, the competition, not even skill things, but just mentality, what he brings to that spot. I guess, would you agree with that? And if that alignment is there, what sort of fruit do you hope that can yield with more time as him running the team?
Yeah, there's truth to that. Back in the day, it was Mateen and there was always arguments, and it's kind of good to have those. And Jeremy, we have those too sometimes. Kalen, we had those, Cash was the outlier. I wanted to argue, and he was just too nice a guy, but he was a hell of a player. But I do see some of those qualities in him. He's got 16 assists, 3 turnovers, and he is shooting the ball better. He just knows right now that might not be what we need. If we were shooting the ball at all, he'd have 25 assists and 3 turnovers, and he'd be probably leading the nation. So defense is getting better and better, and he's good at that. He's still not, that first move that underneath, that was the first time I've seen him do something, with the leg and what he's gone through. It's just taken a little while to come back, too. He's still not, he was dunking at ease when he first got here, and that's still not all the way back, but it is progressing, and he's got the mentality, and he's got the toughness, and he's got a little orneriness to him, and winning is important to him. When Irvin was talking, there was one guy that was like that, and that was Jeremy. He has an appreciation, and winning is important to him. He'll have, it's going to be interesting, because he's going to play against one of the best point guards in the country in Harris. And how he handles that, and there'll be some frustration. Maybe he can't do quite what he wants to do yet. And I talk to him every day about handling the frustrations, too, until we get where we need to get. But, yeah, I'd say, unfortunately, I got to agree with you. Anytime. Anybody else? Well, I hope that our soccer team gets the right bid, and I hope that our people get out, in the next couple of weeks, support this football team. I still got a feeling we're going to be bowl-bound. We're going to win a couple games here and get Jonathan off to the right start. So with hockey doing as well as he did, it's my turn to try to keep up with the Joneses, so I'm going to try to do that tomorrow night. Thanks.